Welcome to this session where we'll be talking about testing within epics. But first, let's take a real life case scenario. You have a travel agency and you want me to create a website where people can book online. And you give me your requirements, and based on your requirements, people are supposed to book for the future, and they cannot book more than 6 months ahead from today's date. I give you the website and the website works. So you go in, or you have a customer go into the website and book a trip that leaves in a week and returns in 2 weeks. Works perfectly. Another trip or another customer books something that leaves in a month and comes back in a couple of weeks after that, so about 6 weeks from today. And that works perfectly. But then someone goes in and books, you have the drop-down calendar on the website, and books for yesterday. And guess what? It allows them to actually book for yesterday. Or they try and book more than 6 months in advance, and it allows them to do the same thing. However, it is not supposed to let them do that based on our requirements. I will say that I'm sorry I missed it, but the keywords that we get out of it is we did not test for it. So there's a couple of keywords we're going to be talking about in this exercise. The first one is testing and the importance of testing, because if we tested our code and had the right test cases, this would not have happened. And then the second thing is coverage, is that we're covering or we're testing that percentage or that amount of our code. So those are the two important words that we're going to be talking about. Testing is key to the success of our application, particularly if our application is to be deployed to customers. So if you validate that your application works as expected, then there is no unexpected behaviors and your customers are going to trust you even more. Testing is the integrated part of epics or any other application development. In epics, we have separate test classes to develop for all the unit testing. In Salesforce, the code must have 75% code coverage in order to be deployed to production. This code coverage is performed by the test classes. Test classes are the code snippets which test the functionality of other epics classes. So we're going to write a test class for one of our codes, which we have written previously. We will write the test class to cover our trigger and helper class code. And as you can see in the screen, we have a trigger and a class, a helper class, which helps in the coverage. Next, we're going to create a test class and review the code for the test class. So before we do that, let's look at some of the important concepts and keywords. First, data creation. We need to create data for a test class in our test class itself. Test class by default does not have access to the organization data. But if we set the isTest, see all data is equal to true, then it will have the access to the organization's data as well. Secondly is the isTest annotation. By using this annotation, we declare that it is a test class and it will not be counted against the organization's total code limit. Number 3, test method keyword. Unit test methods are the message which do not take arguments, commit no data to the database, send no emails, and are declared with the test method keyword or the isTest annotation in the method definition. Also, test methods must be defined in test classes. That is, classes annotated with isTest. Test.startTest and test.stopTest. These are the standard test methods which are available for test classes. These methods contain the event or action for which we will be simulating our test. Like in this example, we will test our trigger and helper class to simulate the fire trigger by updating the records, as we have done to start and stop block. This also provides separate governor limit to the code which is in the start and stop block. And finally, system.assert. This method checks the desired output with the actual. In this case, we are expecting an invoice record to be inserted, so we added assert So this is a great example of what we were discussing earlier to demonstrate testing. This class contains unit tests for validating the behavior of epochs, classes, and triggers. Unit tests are class methods that verify whether a particular piece of code is working properly. Unit test methods take no arguments, commit no data to the database, and are flagged with the test method keyword in the method definition. All test methods in an organization are executed whenever epochs code is deployed to a production organization to confirm correctness, ensure code coverage, and prevent regressions. All epochs classes are required to have at least 75% code coverage in order to be deployed to a production organization. In addition, all triggers must have some code coverage. The isTest class annotation indicates that this class only contains test methods. Classes defined with the isTest annotation do not count against the organization's size limit for all epochs scripts. So you can review this example in detail. So how do we go about running the test class? The first step is to go to the epochs class and then click on the class name, in this case, Customer Trigger Test Class. And then step 2, click on Run Test button as shown. And step 3, let's check the status. On step 4, this is where we check the class and trigger for which we have written the test class. And finally, on the trigger, we will find out that our testing is successful and completed.